The Calresh homeworld was dying. In the night sky, anyone could see the reason why. Thousands of bright streaks moved closer each day. They were not stars. They were asteroids, and they were coming fast. Ambassador Talon stood in the communication center watching the main screen. His crystalline body reflected the pale light as he sent another message into space. It was the same message he had sent yesterday and the day before and every day for the past 6 months. Please help us. Our world faces destruction. 7 billion people will die. We have no weapons. We have no way to stop what is coming. Please, anyone who can hear this, please help us. The message went out in 12 different languages. It traveled through space at the speed of light, reaching system after system. Talon knew it had been received. The Galactic Assembly had over 200 member civilizations. Many of them had the technology to help. Some were close enough to arrive in time, but no one came. No one even answered. Talon looked at the countdown clock on the wall. 38 days remained. In 38 days, the first asteroids would hit. The big ones would come 3 days later. His people had built shelters underground, but everyone knew the truth. The shelters would not be enough. Not for impacts this large, children still went to school. Adults still went to work. But there was a sadness in the air, a quiet acceptance that this was how their story would end. The Calresh had never been warriors. They had spent thousands of years creating art, studying the universe, and living in peace. Now that peace meant they had nothing to fight back with. Talon sent the message one more time, then walked to the window. Below him, the capital city glowed softly in the evening light. Somewhere down there, his family was having dinner. His children were doing homework. His partner was probably reading by the fire. Normal life continuing until it could not continue anymore. He wondered if anyone out there cared. Or if his people would die alone, unwatched and unmourned by a galaxy that had simply chosen to look away. Far across the galaxy, the human ship Perseverance moved through empty space. It was not a military vessel. It was an explorer, sent to map new star systems and look for resources. The crew of 42 had been away from Earth for 8 months. Captain Jiwoo sat in her chair on the bridge reviewing reports. The Perseverance was weeks away from the nearest human colony. Everything was routine. Everything was quiet. Then Hana spoke up from the communications station. "Captain, I am picking up a signal. It is repeating. I think it is a distress call." Jiwoo looked over. "Play it." The bridge speakers crackled to life. A voice spoke in a language none of them recognized, but the tone was clear. Desperation. Fear. Hope, fading but not yet gone. "Can you translate it?" Jiwoo asked. Hana worked quickly, her fingers moving across her console. After a moment, she nodded. "It is in a language I have seen before, but only in the Galactic database. Let me run it through the system." The translation appeared on screen. Everyone on the bridge read it in silence. "Please help us. Our world faces destruction. 7 billion people will die." Jiwoo felt something cold settle in her chest. "Where is this coming from?" Hana checked her readings. "A system about 2 weeks away from our current position. But Captain, this message has been broadcasting for months, and according to the timestamp, they only have about 38 days left." Jiwoo stood up. "Get me everything you can about that system, and call a meeting. All senior officers in the conference room in 30 minutes. The conference room was small but comfortable. Around the table sat the people Jiwoo trusted most. Hana from communications, Dee the chief engineer, Dr. Subin, their xenobiologist, Pilot Nari. A few others. Jiwoo played the message for them. Then she brought up what Hana had learned. The Calresh were a peaceful species. They had been part of the Galactic Assembly for over 300 years. They had made first contact with 14 other civilizations. They had traded goods and shared knowledge, and now they were dying and no one was helping them. "This does not make sense," Dr. Subin said quietly. "The Assembly has protocols for this kind of emergency. There should be rescue ships. There should be aid." Hana shook her head. "I checked the galactic news feeds. Nothing. No mention of the Calresh at all. It is like everyone is just ignoring them." The room fell silent. Everyone understood what that meant. The Calresh were not being ignored by accident. They were being ignored on purpose. "We are an exploration vessel," Nari said carefully. "We are not equipped for rescue operations. We barely have enough supplies for our own mission." "I know," Jiwoo replied. "And we are weeks away from any human support," Nari continued. "If something goes wrong, we are on our own. I know that too." Day leaned forward. He had been listening to the message on repeat through his personal device. Captain, there are children singing in the background of this transmission. Did you hear that? They are singing their history, their stories. They want someone to remember them after they are gone. His voice was steady, but his eyes were not. 7 billion people, Captain, and they are just giving up because no one will help them. Jiwoo looked around the table. What would you do? If you were in their place, what would you want us to do? No one answered right away. Finally, Dr. Subin spoke. I would want someone to try, even if it was impossible, even if it was dangerous. I would want to know that someone out there cared enough to try. Jiwoo nodded slowly. She had already made her decision, but she needed to know her crew was with her. This is not a military ship. I cannot order you to do this. If anyone wants to object, speak now. Silence. Then it is decided. Hana, send a response to the Kalresh. Tell them we received their message. Tell them we are coming. Hana's fingers flew across her keyboard. After a moment, she looked up. Message sent. Captain Jiwoo stood. Day, I need you to figure out what we can actually do when we get there. Nari, plot the fastest course. Everyone else, prepare your departments. We leave in 1 hour. The meeting ended. As people filed out, Jiwoo stayed behind, looking at the star map on the screen. 2 weeks away. 38 days until impact. The math was tight. Very tight, but they were going. Because someone had to. On the Kalresh homeworld, Talon was about to leave the communication center when something impossible happened. A new message appeared on his screen. Not automated. Not a recording. An actual response. We received your message. We are coming. Hold on. The message was short. Simple. But Talon read it 3 times to make sure he was not imagining it. Someone had answered. After 6 months of silence, someone had finally answered. He checked the signature. Humans. He had heard of them. They were new to the assembly, barely 20 years as members. They were far away on the other side of known space. Why would they help? They had no trade agreements with the Kalresh. No mutual defense treaties. No political connections. They were strangers. Talon did not understand it. But he felt something he had not felt in months. Something small but real, hope. The Perseverance moved through space faster than it was designed to go. In the engine room, Day watched the readouts with growing concern. They were pushing the ship hard, maybe too hard, but no one had suggested slowing down. On the bridge, Jiwoo received a priority message from Earth Command. She knew what it would say before she opened it. Still, seeing the words made her stomach tighten. Captain Jiwoo, you are ordered to cease your current course and return to your assigned mission parameters. The situation with the Kalresh is not a human concern. Earth Command out, not a human concern. Jiwoo almost laughed. 7 billion people about to die was not a concern. She deleted the message and kept flying. 2 hours later, another message arrived. This one was different. The sender was not human. It came from the Galactic Assembly itself. From Council Speaker Vrenthal. Jiwoo called her officers back to the conference room. They listened as Vrenthal's translated words played through the speakers. Human vessel. Perseverance. We are aware of your intentions regarding the Kalresh situation. We must inform you that the Assembly has already addressed this matter. The doctrine of cosmic balance prevents us from interfering with natural events. The asteroid swarm is a natural phenomenon. To intervene would disrupt the fundamental order of the universe. Dr. Subin frowned. Natural order? These are people. Sentient beings, the message continued. We understand this may seem harsh to a young civilization such as yours. However, the Assembly has maintained galactic peace for over 10,000 years by respecting these principles. 43 civilizations have the capability to assist the Kalresh. None have chosen to do so. This is not cruelty. This is wisdom. Hana looked up from her console. Captain, there is more. Vrenthal is saying that if we continue, there will be consequences. Trade sanctions. Communication restrictions. We could be expelled from the Assembly. Jiwoo sat back in her chair. So that is why no one helped. They are all afraid of breaking the rules. It is more than fear, Dr. Subin said quietly. I have been reading about this doctrine. The Assembly believes that if they start saving every civilization in trouble, it will create dependency. It will prevent species from developing their own solutions. They think they are being kind by not interfering. Day slammed his hand on the table. Kind? The Kalresh are not failing to solve their own problem. They cannot solve it. They never developed weapons or space defense systems. They focused on other things. And now they are being punished for choosing peace over war. The room fell silent. Everyone knew Day was right. The Assembly's doctrine only made sense if you believed that every problem had a solution. But some problems could not be solved alone. Jiwoo made her decision. Send a response to Vrenthal. Tell him we appreciate the information, but we are continuing our mission. Captain, Hana said carefully, Earth Command is not going to support this. We will be on our own, I know. Jiwoo looked around at her crew. Anyone who wants to turn back, I will understand. This could end your career. It could end all of our careers. No one moved. No one spoke. Finally, Nari broke the silence. We are already halfway there, Captain. Might as well finish what we started. The others nodded in agreement. Jiwoo felt something warm in her chest. Pride, maybe, or just gratitude that she served with people like this. 3 days later, another message came from Earth. This time, it was not an order. It was a warning from the diplomatic corps. Ambassador Youngmi spoke directly to Jiwoo. Jiwoo, I know you. I know why you are doing this. But you need to understand what is at stake. Humanity has only been in the Assembly for 20 years. We are the youngest members. We are barely tolerated. If we break their rules now, we could lose everything we have worked for. Access to trade routes, scientific cooperation, protection under Assembly law. All of it could disappear. Jiwoo listened to the entire message. Then she recorded her response. Young Mai, I understand the risks. But I have to ask you something. What good is being part of an assembly that lets people die when we could save them? What good is all that trade and cooperation if we have to become cold and heartless to keep it? Maybe humanity needs to decide what kind of species we want to be. She sent the message and disconnected from Earth Command's network. From now on, they would only use emergency channels. Day worked through the night, calculating what they could do with limited resources. The Perseverance was an exploration ship. It carried mining equipment for collecting samples from asteroids. That equipment included 3 shaped charges designed to break apart rocks for easier analysis. 3 charges, thousands of asteroids. The math was not good, but Day kept working. He contacted the Kalresh scientists and shared data. Together, they identified the 3 largest asteroids in the swarm. These 3 were massive, each one capable of causing extinction-level damage. The smaller asteroids were dangerous, but the Kalresh atmosphere could handle most of them. It was the big 3 that would end their world. If we can fragment these 3, Day explained to Jiwoo, the planet might survive. The fragments will be smaller. The atmosphere can burn up smaller pieces. It is not perfect, but it gives them a chance. How do we place the charges? Jiwoo asked. Day hesitated. That is the problem. The asteroids are covered with minerals that interfere with our remote systems. We cannot use drones. Someone will have to fly a shuttle close and place each charge manually. Jiwoo understood immediately. How close? Very close. And the asteroids are tumbling. They are not stable. The pilot will have to match rotation and velocity. It will be extremely dangerous, and the radiation. Day pulled up a chart. The minerals on the asteroids emit high levels of radiation. Exposure time will be critical. 10 minutes might be survivable. 20 minutes maybe not. So whoever does this might not come back. Day nodded slowly. That is correct, Captain. Jiwoo called another meeting. She explained the plan. She explained the risks. Then she asked for volunteers. Every single person in the room raised their hand. She had expected this. Her crew had already shown they were willing to risk their careers. Of course they would risk their lives too. I will make the assignments based on skills, Jiwoo said. Day, you know the charges better than anyone. You take the first asteroid. Nari, you are our best pilot. You take the second. The third one is mine. Hana stood up. Captain, your place is on this ship. Let me take the third run. Jiwoo shook her head. My place is wherever my crew needs me. Right now, that is out there. She looked around the room. We have 40 hours until we reach the Kalresh system. Get some rest. Spend time with your friends. Write letters to your families. And then we go to work. That night, Jiwoo sat alone in her quarters. She wrote a message to her parents. She tried to explain why she was doing this, but the words felt inadequate. How do you explain that some things are more important than safety? That some choices define who you are? In the end, she kept it simple. I am doing what I think is right. If something happens to me, please know that I have no regrets. I am proud of my crew. I am proud to be human, and I hope that when the time comes, someone would do the same for us. She sent the message knowing it would not reach Earth for weeks. By then, everything would be over, one way or another. The Perseverance entered the Calresh system right on schedule. Through the windows, they could see the planet. It was beautiful, covered in blue oceans and green continents. Cities glowed on the night side, millions of lights that represented millions of lives. And behind the planet, like a wall of death, came the asteroid swarm. Jiwoo opened a channel to the Calresh. This is Captain Jiwoo of the human ship Perseverance. We are here to help. Tell us where you need us. There was a moment of silence. Then a voice replied, trembling with emotion. Captain Jiwoo, this is Ambassador Talon. Welcome to our world. Thank you for coming. You cannot know what this means to us. Save your thanks, Jiwoo said. We have work to do. Ambassador Talon came aboard the Perseverance with 3 Calresh scientists. Jiwoo met them in the docking bay and saw aliens in person for the first time. The Calresh were tall and crystalline, their bodies reflecting light in beautiful patterns. When they moved, they made soft musical sounds. Talon approached Jiwoo and extended his hand. She took it carefully, not sure of the proper greeting. The moment their hands touched, she heard music. It filled her mind, 1,000 voices singing in harmony. Images flashed through her thoughts. Cities of crystal and light, children learning, artists creating, thousands of years of peace and beauty. Then the images shifted, the asteroids coming, the desperate calls for help, the terrible silence that followed, the acceptance of death, and finally, impossibly, the human response, hope returning when it should have been gone forever. Talon released her hand. The music faded. We communicate through harmonic resonance, he explained. What you experienced was our way of sharing truth. I wanted you to understand what you are saving. Jiwoo blinked away tears she had not realized were forming. We should get to work. The combined human and Calresh team worked through the night. Dai showed the Calresh scientists his calculations. They verified his math and added their own data. The plan was solid but extremely dangerous. 3 asteroids. 3 charges. 3 shuttle runs into radiation-soaked space. One of the Calresh scientists, a being named Reshikan, spoke up. There must be another way. Your people should not have to die for us. Day shook his head. We have considered every option. This is the only way that has a chance of working. The charges must be placed precisely. The detonations must happen at exactly the right moment. Remote systems will not work. Then let us do it, Reshikan said. These are our asteroids. Our problem. We should be the ones taking the risk. Jiwoo appreciated the offer, but she shook her head. You have never trained for this kind of operation. Our pilots know how to handle unstable environments. Our engineer knows the explosives. This is what we do. Talon touched Reshikan's shoulder, making a soft chiming sound. The scientist sat down slowly. Jiwoo saw the weight of gratitude and grief in his crystalline face. 6 hours before the first asteroid strike, Day boarded his shuttle. The cargo bay was crowded with crew members who had come to see him off. He tried to make jokes to keep things light, but no one laughed. Everyone knew what this meant. Nari hugged him. Come back, okay? I need someone to argue with about engine efficiency. Day smiled. I always win those arguments anyway. Jiwoo was the last to speak with him. She handed him a data chip. If something goes wrong, if you cannot get back, you record a message on this. We will make sure it gets to your family. Day took the chip and put it in his pocket. I will see you in a few hours, Captain. That is an order, engineer. The first asteroid was the size of a small mountain. It tumbled through space, spinning on 3 axes at once. The surface was covered in jagged rocks and strange crystalline formations that glowed with radiation. Day approached carefully, his shuttle's sensors screaming warnings about radiation levels. He ignored them and focused on matching the asteroid's rotation. It was like trying to dance with a partner who kept changing the music. On the Perseverance, everyone watched through the shuttle's external cameras. The Calresh had broadcast the feed to their entire planet. 7 billion people watched as one human in a tiny ship approached their doom. Day's voice came through the radio, steady and calm. I have matched rotation. Moving in to place the charge, the shuttle touched down on the asteroid's surface. Day activated the magnetic clamps and climbed out in his spacesuit. The radiation counter on his suit began ticking upward immediately. He had 15 minutes, maybe 20 if he was lucky. He needed 12 to place and arm the charge. Day worked quickly, drilling into the asteroid's surface. He found the fault line he had identified from the scans. The charge fit perfectly. He activated it and set the timer. Charge armed. Beginning return to shuttle. Then something went wrong. A piece of debris no bigger than a fist struck the asteroid nearby. The impact sent vibrations through the rock. Day lost his footing. He started to drift away from the surface, his magnetic boots losing contact. On the bridge, Jiwoo gripped her chair. Day report, I am okay. Just lost my footing, using maneuvering jets to get back to the shuttle. But the jets were not responding correctly. Something had been damaged. Day spun in space trying to correct his trajectory. Every second took him farther from the shuttle. Every second exposed him to more radiation. Nari was already moving. She ran to the second shuttle and launched before anyone could stop her. Captain, I am going to get him, Jiwoo wanted to order her back. But Nari was right. Day could not reach his shuttle alone. Someone had to get him. Nari pushed her shuttle to maximum speed, racing toward the tumbling asteroid. She had never flown like this before. No one had. She threaded through debris fields, matched the asteroid's impossible rotation, and brought her shuttle alongside Day. Got you, she said as she pulled him aboard. The timer on the charge was counting down. 30 seconds. They needed to be far away when it detonated. Nari pushed her engines to the breaking point. The shuttle shook. Warning lights flashed, but they moved fast and hard away from the asteroid. The charge detonated exactly on time. The asteroid split along the fault line, breaking into dozens of pieces. Each piece was small enough for the Calresh atmosphere to handle. On the planet below, millions of Calresh began to sing. Nari brought her shuttle back to the Perseverance with Day aboard. They were both exposed to dangerous levels of radiation, but they were alive. Dr. Subin immediately started treatment. There was no time to celebrate. 2 asteroids remained. Nari was supposed to handle the second one, but she was in medical bay now. Someone else would have to go. Jiwoo made the decision quickly. She would take both remaining runs. Hana protested. Other crew members volunteered. But Jiwoo refused to risk anyone else. This is my responsibility, she said, my choice, my mission. She took Day's shuttle, which was still functional despite the damaged jets. The second asteroid was even worse than the first. Larger, faster rotation, higher radiation levels. Jiwoo approached it like she had approached every challenge in her life. Carefully, methodically, with complete focus, she matched rotation. She landed. She placed the charge. She armed it. This time nothing went wrong. She returned to her shuttle and escaped before the detonation. The asteroid broke apart perfectly. 2 down, 1 to go. The third asteroid was the largest and most dangerous. Jiwoo could feel the radiation even inside her shuttle. Her suit alarms were already going off, and she had not even landed yet. On the bridge, Hana watched the radiation readings with growing horror. Captain, the levels are too high. You need to abort. If I abort, the Calresh die. Jiwoo's voice was calm. Keep the channel open. I want to hear your voice, Hana understood. She started talking about anything and everything. Old memories, bad jokes, stories from Earth. Anything to keep Jiwoo focused and connected. Jiwoo landed on the asteroid. She could feel herself weakening already. The radiation was like fire in her bones, but she kept moving. She drilled. She placed the charge. She armed it. Then she made a choice. There was no time for an escape run. If she tried to get back to the shuttle and fly away, she would not make it. The radiation had already damaged too many systems, but if she detonated the charge immediately, she might be able to ride the explosion's shockwave. It was dangerous. Maybe impossible, but it was the only way. She triggered the charge early and threw herself toward the shuttle. The explosion caught her, throwing her forward with incredible force. She crashed into the shuttle's open hatch. Her hands found the controls. She fired the engines. The asteroid fragmented around her. Pieces flew in every direction. The shockwave pushed her shuttle forward, away from the destruction. But the shuttle was dying. Systems failed one by one. The engines guttered out. Life support went offline. Jiwoo's last thought before losing consciousness was simple. We did it. They are safe. The Perseverance recovered her shuttle 30 minutes later. She was alive, but barely. Dr. Subin worked for 72 hours straight to save Captain Jiwoo. The radiation damage was severe. Her body was fighting itself. The Calresh doctors helped, sharing medical techniques unknown to humans. They combined their knowledge with desperation and hope. On the third day, Jiwoo opened her eyes. The first thing she saw was Hana, asleep in a chair next to the medical bed. The first thing she heard was singing. Soft, harmonic, beautiful. The Kalresh were still singing. They had not stopped since the last asteroid was destroyed. Dr. Subin came in when she heard Jiwoo moving. "Welcome back, Captain. You gave us quite a scare. Did it work?" Jiwoo's voice was weak. "Are they safe?" Subin smiled. "See for yourself." She helped Jiwoo to the window. Below, the Kalresh planet turned slowly in space. The asteroid fragments had entered the atmosphere over the past 3 days. They burned up as they fell, creating meteor showers that lit up the sky. It was dangerous but survivable. Cities remained intact. People remained alive. 7 billion people, Subin said quietly. "You saved 7 billion people." While Jiwoo recovered, Ambassador Talon did something that would change the galaxy forever. He accessed the Galactic Assembly's main communication network. Every civilization had access to this network. It was how the Assembly shared information and maintained order. Talon hijacked the entire network. He broadcast everything. The Kalresh distress calls that went unanswered for months. The Assembly's refusal to help. The explanations about natural order and cosmic balance. And then in contrast, he showed the human response. The Perseverance arriving. Day placing the first charge. Nari's rescue. Jiwoo's final run into radiation-soaked space. 200 civilizations saw it all. Every member of the Assembly watched as humanity, the youngest and weakest species, did what no one else would do. Talon's message was simple. We called for help. 200 civilizations heard us. Only one answered. The universe was silent. Only humanity spoke. The Galactic Assembly erupted into chaos. Council Speaker Vrenthal called an emergency session. He demanded that humanity be punished for violating the doctrine of cosmic balance. He argued that this set a dangerous precedent. If civilizations started helping each other without Assembly approval, order would collapse. But something unexpected happened. Not everyone agreed with him. The Talori delegation stood up. Their representative, a being named Kelshan, spoke for the first time in 300 years. We suffered a similar catastrophe once. Our sun was dying. We sent calls for help. No one came. We survived by abandoning our homeworld. We lost billions. We lost our history. We lost everything that made us who we were. And we have been silent in the Assembly ever since because we learned that asking for help is pointless. But today, watching the humans, we remember something we forgot. Compassion exists. It just took the youngest race in the galaxy to show us. The Talori announced they would stand with humanity, whatever consequences that brought. Then the Merkath Collective spoke. They had been one of the 43 civilizations capable of helping the Kalresh. They had chosen not to. Now their population was in revolt. Protests filled their cities. Their government was collapsing under the weight of one simple question. Why did we do nothing? The Merkath representative admitted their failure publicly. We were wrong. We hid behind doctrine and policy. We told ourselves that non-interference was wisdom. But wisdom that allows billions to die is not wisdom. It is cowardice. One by one, younger civilizations began questioning the Assembly's old ways. If the natural order means watching people die, maybe the natural order needs to change. Ambassador Youngmi arrived from Earth to represent humanity at the Assembly session. She was nervous but determined. Humanity's entire future might depend on what she said in the next few minutes. She did not apologize. That surprised everyone. Council Speaker Vrenthal, she began. You have maintained order for 10,000 years. That is an incredible achievement. But I must ask, order at what cost? How many civilizations has your doctrine condemned to extinction? How many calls for help went unanswered? How many billions died while ships sat idle, watching, following the rules? Vrenthal began to respond, but Youngmi continued. You call it cosmic balance. We call it abandonment. You say intervention disrupts natural order. We say compassion is natural. The strong helping the weak. The capable protecting the vulnerable. That is not interference. That is civilization. She presented her proposal. The Mutual Aid Compact. Any civilization facing existential crisis could petition for help. Any civilization with resources could volunteer assistance. Participation would be voluntary. No one would be forced to help. But those who chose to participate would commit to responding when they were able. It was revolutionary. It challenged everything the Assembly had believed for thousands of years. The debate lasted 3 days. Vrenthal argued passionately against change. He warned of chaos, of civilizations becoming dependent, of the balance being lost forever. But his voice was becoming isolated. Too many civilizations had been moved by what they saw. Too many remembered their own times of need when no one came. Finally, Ambassador Talon spoke before the Assembly. He was the one who had sent the original distress calls. He was the one who had watched his people prepare to die. And he was the one who had witnessed humanity's response. Speaker Vrenthal speaks of balance, Talon said. But there is no balance in watching billions die. There is no wisdom in choosing order over life. Humanity showed us something we had forgotten. That caring for strangers is not weakness. That risking yourself for others is not foolish. That compassion is the highest form of strength. He paused, his crystalline form reflecting light throughout the chamber. My people are alive because one species chose to act. One species refused to accept that our deaths were acceptable. And now we must choose. Do we want to be a galaxy that watches, or do we want to be a galaxy that helps? The vote was close. 112 civilizations supported the Mutual Aid Compact. 88 opposed it. The Assembly approved it as an independent coalition that would operate alongside existing governance. Humanity had not just saved the Kalresh. They had changed galactic civilization. 3 weeks after the vote, Jiwoo was strong enough to walk. Ambassador Talon took her down to the Kalresh planet's surface. She expected to meet with government officials, maybe give a speech. Instead, Talon brought her to a vast open field. 7 billion Kalresh were waiting. Jiwoo stopped, overwhelmed. She had never seen so many people in one place. They stretched to the horizon in every direction. And as she appeared, they began to sing. The sound was beyond description. 7 billion voices in perfect harmony, creating music that made the air itself vibrate. It was not just sound. It was emotion made audible. Gratitude, joy, love, hope. Tears streamed down Jiwoo's face. What are they saying? Talon's own voice was thick with emotion as he translated. They are singing the highest honor our species can give. They are singing that you heard us when we were alone in the dark. You answered when no one else would. You risked everything for strangers, and we will never forget. The song continued for an hour. When it finally ended, Jiwoo could barely stand. Hana and Day supported her on either side. Her crew had come down to the surface to stand with her. Talon presented Jiwoo with a crystal. It was unlike anything she had ever seen, glowing with internal light. This is a memory stone. It contains the history of our people. Everything we are, everything we were, everything we will become. We give it to you so that humanity will always know what they saved, so that you will always know how much you mattered. Jiwoo accepted the crystal with shaking hands. She wanted to say something profound, something worthy of this moment, but all she could manage was a simple truth. Thank you for letting us help. That night, the crew of the Perseverance gathered in the common room. They had been through something none of them would ever forget. They had risked everything, lost nothing, gained the gratitude of an entire world. Day raised a glass. To Captain Jiwoo, for making the right choice. Jiwoo shook her head. To all of us, for deciding that some things matter more than rules, for remembering that we are human and humans help each other. They drank together, this crew that had changed the galaxy without meaning to. They had simply done what they thought was right. And somehow, impossibly, that had been enough. 6 months after the rescue, the Mutual Aid Compact held its first official meeting. Representatives from 112 civilizations gathered at a neutral station between human and Kalresh space. The station had been empty for centuries. Now it buzzed with life and purpose. Ambassador Young-Mi stood before the assembly. She had spent the past months coordinating with other species, drafting protocols and building consensus. It had been exhausting work. But today, they would establish something that had never existed before. A galaxy-wide network of civilizations committed to helping each other. The meeting began with a moment of silence. They were honoring the billions who had died throughout history because no one came to help them. The Kalresh could have been added to that list, but they were not. And that made all the difference. Then Young-Mi spoke. We are here because one species refused to accept that death was inevitable, because one ship decided that compassion was more important than convenience, because a crew of 42 humans showed us what we should have been all along. Today, we make sure that no one else has to face their darkest hour alone. The compact structure was simple. Any member civilization could request aid. Any member with resources could volunteer to help. A central coordination system would match needs with capabilities. There would be no enforcement, no punishment for not helping. But there would be records. The galaxy would know who answered the call and who looked away. Ambassador Talon was chosen as the first diplomatic coordinator. His experience and dedication made him perfect for the role. He accepted with characteristic humility. I will do my best to ensure that no one ever feels the desperation my people felt, that no one ever believes they are alone. Captain Jiwoo was offered command of the entire compact fleet. It would have been a prestigious position. She would have been one of the most powerful people in the galaxy, but she turned it down. My place is on a ship, not behind a desk, she explained. I am a captain, not an administrator. Give me a crew and a mission, and I will do what I do best. So the Perseverance became the first official mutual aid compact rapid response vessel. Jiwoo and her crew would patrol the galaxy, monitoring for distress calls ready to respond at a moment's notice. The ship was upgraded with new technology. The Kalresh installed advanced sensors. The Talori contributed weapons systems in case the crew ever needed to defend those they were helping. The Merkath added medical equipment. Dozens of civilizations donated resources, all trying to make up for their past failures by supporting those who had acted. Day worked on the new systems with barely contained excitement. Captain, we can detect distress signals from twice as far away now. We can reach people faster, save more lives. Hana expanded her translation database to include 43 alien languages. When the next call for help comes, we will understand it immediately. No delays, no confusion. Dr. Subin established medical exchange programs with a dozen species. I have learned more about alien biology in 6 months than I learned in 20 years of study. If we face another radiation exposure, I will know how to treat it better. Pilot Nari tested the improved engines. She pushed them hard like she pushed everything and came back grinning. Captain, we can go faster, much faster. When someone needs us, we will get there. 3 months after the compact's formation, the Perseverance received its first official distress call. A colony ship carrying refugees had suffered catastrophic engine failure. They were stranded in deep space. Life support was failing. They had maybe 48 hours before the cold and lack of oxygen killed everyone aboard. The ship was Merkath. One of the civilizations that had refused to help the Kalresh Jiwoo did not hesitate. She did not think about the irony. She did not consider revenge or justice or any of the complicated emotions she might have felt. She simply did what she always did, all hands to stations. Set course for those coordinates. Maximum speed. The crew moved with practiced efficiency. They had done this before. They knew what was required. They knew what was at stake. The Perseverance reached the colony ship 36 hours later. The Merkath captain, a being named Thexavon, sent a message as they approached. Human vessel, this is Captain Thexavon. I must tell you something before you help us. My government was one of those who refused to aid the Kalresh. We watched your rescue broadcast. We felt the shame of our inaction. I understand if you choose to do to us what we did to them. I understand if you leave us here. Jiwoo responded immediately. Captain Thexavon, we do not help people because they deserve it. We help because they need it. That is what makes us different. Stand by for rescue operations. The rescue took 18 hours. Day and Nari worked together to repair the colony ship's engines enough to get them to a nearby station. Dr. Subin treated dozens of refugees suffering from oxygen deprivation. Hana coordinated with the station to prepare emergency facilities. When it was over, Captain Thexavon asked to speak with Jiwoo face to face. They met in the docking bay. The Merkath captain was huge, nearly 3 meters tall with 4 arms and skin like stone, but his eyes were soft with gratitude. You saved us even after what we did. Why? Jiwoo smiled. Because that is the point. Compassion is not conditional. Help is not something you earn. When someone needs you, you answer. That is the only way this works. Thexvan bowed low. High people made a mistake. We will not make it again. Within the week, the Merkath Collective formally joined the Mutual Aid Compact. They committed 3 rescue vessels and opened their medical research to all member species. The rescues continued. The Perseverance and other compact vessels saved dozens of ships, prevented famines, evacuated colonies from natural disasters. Each success strengthened the network. Each mission proved that the new way was better than the old. The Mutual Aid Compact grew to include over 150 civilizations. What had started as a radical idea became normal. Young species joining the assembly learned about the compact first. Some civilizations that had opposed it began to reconsider. Even Council Speaker Vrenthal, who had fought so hard against change, eventually admitted that perhaps the galaxy had needed to evolve. The old doctrine of cosmic balance remained. Some civilizations still followed it, but it no longer dominated galactic thinking. A new philosophy emerged called the compact principle. The strong protect the vulnerable. The capable help those in need. Not because it serves their interests, not because it is required, but because it is right. Humanity's reputation transformed completely. They were no longer the impulsive newcomers. They were respected, admired, seen as the species that had reminded the galaxy of its better nature. 5 years after the Calresh rescue, Captain Jiwoo stood on the observation deck of the Perseverance. The ship was older now, showing signs of hard use. But it was still flying, still answering calls, still saving lives. Hana joined her at the window. She had been promoted to first officer, but she still worked communications. Some habits were too important to break. "Look at that," Hana said, pointing out the window. A convoy of ships passed by. They came from a dozen different species. All of them bore the symbol of the Mutual Aid Compact. A simple design, an open hand reaching across stars. "We changed the galaxy," Hana said softly. Jiwoo shook her head. "We reminded the galaxy what it should have always been." "There is a difference," Hana smiled. "I suppose you are right. Still, it is nice to see." They stood together in comfortable silence, watching the ships pass. Each one represented lives saved, hope restored, compassion made real. Then the alarm sounded. A new distress call was coming through. Hana rushed to her station. Jiwoo followed, already knowing what needed to be done. Another species in trouble. Another chance to prove that the galaxy had changed. Another opportunity to show that compassion was not weakness. Jiwoo took her seat in the captain's chair. It felt right, natural. This was who she was. This was what she did. "All hands to stations," she ordered. "We have work to do." Day confirmed engineering was ready. Nari plotted the course. Dr. Subin prepared medical bay. Hana translated the distress call and identified who needed help. The crew worked like a single organism. They had done this hundreds of times now. But it never got old. Each rescue mattered. Each life saved was a victory against the cold indifference of space. "Set course," Jiwoo ordered. Maximum speed. The Perseverance turned toward the distress signal. Its engines burned bright in the darkness. It accelerated, racing toward someone who needed help. Someone who had sent a message into the void, hoping anyone would hear. The galaxy was no longer silent. The void no longer meant isolation, because humanity had shown that there was another way. That compassion could cross any distance. That hope could survive any darkness. Someone was in trouble, and someone was coming to help. That was what humanity did. That was what they would always do. Because when the universe goes dark, when hope seems lost, when no one else will act, humanity answers. Every single time.